Welcome, fourth graders. Hi, hola, how's it going? Hope that your day's going well. Let's get started. Today you're going to be getting another lesson on text evidence with the Readworks passage, Jump, 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 because we have to go over this again, and I want you to follow along with me. You're going to prove your answers with text evidence. Your lesson objective: I will use text evidence to prove and support my answers. Now, I want you to pee on your reading passage. Anytime you have a reading passage with questions, I want you to pee on it. Meaning, prove every answer with text evidence. The P stands for prove. And notice how we have this illustration of this dog peeing. I want this visual to stick with you because I want you to remember to always prove your answers. Pee on your reading passage. The word text evidence means clues, proof, sentence from the reading passage. That's the evidence, confirming and verifying your answer choice. So how does proving your answers look like in Readworks? Last week, we looked at the reading passage, Sean the Snail, and we were able to highlight the sentence from the reading passage that was the evidence, the clue, the proof, and then we wrote proof for Q1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. The Q stands for question and the number stands for that number question. And we always have to prove our answers, and this is what it looks like. On my end, when you complete this lesson for jump, 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 I can see who highlighted and who proved their answers by writing the notes on the side of the margin. So please make sure that you follow along with me. Now, during this video lesson, I want you to do what I do. I don't want you to just watch the lesson and then not go back and highlight. I want you to complete the passage with me, and you'll make 100 at the end. So now, I want you to click on the readworks.org student link in Seesaw. When you click on it, your tab should look like this. Then you type in the class code. It's in the instructions, so just copy and paste it. It's PJQN4W. Then you select your name. And the password is 1234. You click continue, and then you click on assignments to do. When you complete this, don't forget, you click on see your results and it tells you your grade. If you make a 70 and above, you're good to go. When you work on this by yourself, if you make below a 70, you have to go back and work on it again because I will send it back to you. At the end of this lesson, you should make 100 on jump, jump, jump because you're going to be working on this with me. And you're going to be highlighting and proving your answers. If you don't highlight and prove your answers, meaning your passage should look like this at the end, I will send it right back because I can see on my end who followed directions and proved their answers with me by highlighting and writing the note on the margins on the side of the paragraphs. So let's get started. We're going to number our paragraphs. So at this time, I want you to click the paragraph button. That's one of our tools, and it's going to number our 20 really short paragraphs. You can always make this bigger by clicking on the first icon here that makes it bigger, the text. This is our reading highlighter. And then this splits our screen in order to work on our questions when we prove our answers. And you always have audio support by clicking on the audio and then clicking on the little icon, and it reads the questions to you and it reads the passage to you. Anytime you are reading the passage by yourself, for this lesson I'll be reading the passage out loud to you. But when I ask you to work on a follow-up for the rest of the year, don't forget you have the audio support. Then you click on the reading highlighter and then you follow along as it's being read to you, if that helps you out. So at this time we're going to read jump, jump, jump. So follow along with me. "You are doing it all wrong," said Ryan. "You are nuts," shouted Tom. "I'm the best jumper there ever was." "Then how come you can't touch the door frame?" "It is hard, okay?" Tom stood on the concrete, rubbing his shoulder and looking straight up. The doorway to the lunchroom was 10 feet high, at least. Nobody his age could jump high enough to touch it. Older kids tried every day. Nobody even came close. But Ryan had dared Tom that he could not do it, and so Tom had to try. Let's look at what the word dared means. When you dare someone, you invite them to do something that is dangerous or not pleasant, or that might get them into trouble. You do this just to see if they are brave enough to do it. Always click on the blue words to look at the definition, the meaning. He muttered under his breath, "I'm the best jumper there ever was." Muttered. When someone mutters, they speak in a quiet voice, and what they say is often hard for someone else to understand. When people mutter, they often don't care if other people hear or understand what they are saying. And you always have audio support for definitions as well. You click on the little sound icon. And let's look at our highlighter, and let's keep reading. Paragraph 7. Notice how our paragraphs are numbered. That little number out to the side has a paragraph number. That'll come in handy when we go back and prove our answers when I ask you to look at certain paragraphs. So let's get back to the reading. It had started the year before at recess. A frisbee was stuck in a tree. Nobody could jump high enough to get it. Nobody could climb the tree to get it. Nobody could throw anything that would knock it down. And so Tom had stood way back from the tree. He got a running start, and when he was going fast as he could run, he leapt. It was like he was in the air forever, and then he felt the frisbee in his hand. From that day on, when there was a problem that could be solved by jumping, they called Tom. Everybody loved their jumping champion, except for Ryan. Before Tom had come along, Ryan had been the best jumper in the class. He could jump over hurdles. He could jump down the stairs. He could jump all sorts of places, but never quite as high as Tom. Ever since the day Tom had rescued the frisbee, Ryan had been out for revenge. Now he was going to get it. "Come on," he taunted. "You can't jump just a little bit higher? I thought you were the best jumper there ever was." Let's look at what the word taunted means. To make fun of, to tease, challenging, using mean language. Tom gritted his teeth. He tensed his legs. He threw his body up into the air, and he still felt short by at least 2 feet. He didn't want to say it. It was impossible. But it is impossible, he said. "Ha! I knew it. Unless we work together." Excuse me? Neither of us can jump high enough to touch it alone, but if we work together, Tom explained his plan. A few minutes later, Tom knelt on the ground. He laced his fingers together and held Ryan's foot in his hands. 1, 2, 3, shouted Tom. On 3, Ryan put all his weight on Tom's hands, and Tom threw him up into the air. Ryan's hand smashed into the doorframe, and he fell down laughing. "We did it," he said. "Now it is my turn," said Tom. Together, they were the best jumpers there ever were. So those were the 20 paragraphs. Those are 20 paragraphs. We finished reading the story. So now we're going to prove our answers. We're going to click the split screen, and you're going to follow along with me. Let's look at number 1. Tom says that he is the best blank there ever was. Is it A, soccer player, B, swimmer, C, jumper, or D, runner? We have to find our proof. Let's look in the paragraph. We have our split screen, so at this time, follow along with me. What I do, you do. And we're going to find if he was a soccer player, swimmer, jumper, and runner. And by looking at our title, we have jump, jump, jump. And look at paragraph 2. We have our proof, our evidence. We're able to prove number 1. I want you to highlight all of paragraph 2. And what you're going to do is you're going to just drag your mouse over. It's going to turn blue as you're highlighting, and this is in paragraph 2. Notice how you see the number 2 on the margins. And I want you to click the green. If you accidentally highlight something, what you do is after you highlight it, you click the little X button and it erases it. So once again, if you accidentally highlight a word or something in the reading passage and you want to unhighlight it, I want you to always just click like this. It's highlighted And if you don't want it to be highlighted, you just click on the X within that color and then it makes it go away. But now you should have all of paragraph 2 highlighted, and we're going to use orange. "You are nuts," shouted Tom. "I am the best jumper there ever was." So Tom says he is the best jumper there ever was. We have paragraph 2 to prove it. That's our clue, our evidence. This says, "I'm the best jumper there ever was," so we can prove that he is from evidence, a sentence from the reading passage. Once you highlight, I want you to click the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th button, the little text bubble, and just type in Q1. So at this time, do what I do. Q1 meaning question 1, that's all I want you to write, and then you add the note. So once again, you should have paragraph 2 highlighted in orange, and you clicked on the note and you typed in Q1. Please do this with me. This is part of the lesson, and this is what good readers do. They prove their answers, and this is how we prove our answers digitally in Readworks. And save. Let's look at number 2. And then go at your own pace. What problem does Tom have in the story? Tom is our main character, our protagonist. What's a challenge that's facing him in this story? A, he cannot get a frisbee to fly smoothly through the air when he throws it. B, he cannot jump over as many hurdles as Ryan can. C, he cannot jump high enough to reach the top of a doorway. Or D, he cannot climb a tree to get a frisbee that is stuck in it. Let's look at paragraph 5. Paragraph 5, so follow along with me. What I highlight, you should highlight. Prove your answers with me. Tom stood on the concrete, rubbing his shoulder and looking straight out. The doorway to the lunchroom was 10 feet high at least. Nobody his age could jump high enough to touch it. Older kids tried every day. Nobody even came close. But Ryan had dared Tom that he could not do it, and so Tom had to try. He muttered under his breath, "I'm the best jumper there ever was." So we're going to highlight all of paragraph 5. And we're going to use the color green. So at this time, go to paragraph 5, highlight all of it. Tom stood on the concrete, rubbing his shoulder and looking straight up. The doorway to the lunchroom was 10 feet high, at least. Nobody his age could jump high enough to touch it. Older kids tried every day. Nobody even came close. But Ryan had dared Tom that he could not do it. So Tom had to try. This is a problem that Tom is facing in the story. Which answer choice is close to our proof or evidence? And it's going to be C. He cannot jump high enough to reach the top of the doorway. I want you to select C. We have the proof. We are able to prove it. Paragraph 5 in green is our proof. So now we're going to click on the text bubble, the little icon with the text bubble, and we're going to type in Q2. At this time, follow along with me. What I do, you do. I'll be able to see who's actually writing on the notes and highlighting, and you add the note. So this is our proof, and this says that he cannot jump high enough to reach the top of the doorway. We proved 1 and 2. Let's look at number 3. Tom is the best jumper in his class. What evidence from the story supports this statement? The word statement just means this right here. This is the statement. Tom is the best jumper in his class. What evidence, since we're learning about text evidence, on this one you don't have to highlight anything because A, B, C, and D are all sentences from the reading. They're all evidence, but we have to select the best one that supports and proves that Tom is the best jumper. So basically, which of these 4 answer choices proves that Tom is the best jumper? Is it A? Tom falls at least 2 feet short of the top of the lunchroom doorway when he tries jumping up to touch it. That doesn't really tell us that he is the best jumper. It's telling us that he's not able to. B. Tom is the only person who is able to jump high enough to get the frisbee out of the tree. Maybe it's giving us an example on the character Tom and how he's able to jump really, really high. So that would suggest that he is a really good jumper and he's the best one in the class. Because it says he's the only person, referring to his class. So maybe it's B. Is it C, Tom grits his teeth and tenses his legs before jumping toward the top of the lunchroom doorway? This doesn't really prove and give us evidence on how he's the best jumper in his class. Or let's look at D. Tom kneels to the ground, laces his fingers together, and holds Ryan's foot in his hands. This is how they're solving the problem, not really supporting and proving that Tom is the best jumper in his class. So it's going to be B, because it says Tom is the only person who was able to jump high enough to get the frisbee out of the tree. Only person right there, meaning in his class. And we don't highlight anything because this is strictly taken from the reading passage. Number 4. And once again, guys, please make sure for number 1 you have C, number 2, C, and for number 3, B. Because last time on the lesson, I had people making 20s and 10s and 0s when I did it with you. So please make sure that you click the correct answer choice with me to get credit. Read the sentences from the text. Everybody loved their jumping champion, except for Ryan. Before Tom had come along, Ryan had been the best jumper in the class. He could jump over hurdles. He could jump down the stairs. He could jump all sorts of places, but never quite as high as Tom. Ever since the day Tom had rescued the frisbee, Ryan had been out for revenge. Now he was going to get it. Based on this evidence, meaning these sentences from the passage, why might Ryan be out for revenge? So let's make a prediction based on the evidence above. Ryan is angry that Tom has taken his place as the best jumper in the class. Ryan is upset that Tom is taller and more popular than he is. Ryan does not believe that Tom is a better jumper than he is. D. Ryan wanted to rescue the frisbee, but Tom got to it before he did. If our evidence says, ever since the day Tom had rescued the frisbee, Ryan had been out for revenge, and it says Ryan had been the best jumper in class before Tom came along, this is related to jumping. So he wants to get revenge because he's now better than Ryan. Tom is better than Ryan at jumping. It's not going to be B. Ryan's not upset about the height difference. And Ryan does not believe that Tom is a better jumper than he is. Yeah, Ryan doesn't believe that, but his classmates do. So he wants revenge on that. It's not going to be B. It's not going to be C. And it's not going to be D, because D is talking about, that's just a detail from the story. A says Ryan is angry that Tom has taken his place as the best jumper in the class. That's the reason why he wants to get revenge. Ryan used to be the best jumper, but then Tom came along. So select A for number 4. Number 5. What is a theme of this story? Remember, the theme is a lesson learned. The character or characters in the story, based on their actions, at the end they learned something important about themselves, a lesson learned. Is it A, by working together, people can achieve something that they cannot achieve on their own? B, making friends is more important than impressing the people around you? C, the best way to resolve conflict with someone is to challenge that person to do something dangerous? Or D, impressing the people around you is more important than making friends? Let's look at the end. Let's see what happened. He laced his fingers together and held Ryan's foot in his hands. 1, 2, 3, shouted Tom. On 3, Ryan put all his weight on Tom's hands, and Tom threw him up into the air. Ryan's hand smashed into the doorframe, and he fell down laughing. We did it, he said. Now it's my turn, said Tom. Together they were the best jumpers there ever were. So we're going to highlight paragraph 18, 19, and 20, and we're going to use purple. So you should have a total of 3 different colors, 18, 19, and 20, those 3 paragraphs. That's the proof for number 5. So click on the text bubble icon and type in Q5. That's our proof for question 5, the theme question. Because it says, we did it, he said. Now it is my turn, said Tom. Together they were the best jumpers there ever were. This shows that they worked together. So if our proof, these 3 paragraphs are the evidence, which theme matches that? And it's going to be A. By working together, people can achieve something that they cannot achieve on their own, because our evidence, paragraphs 18, 19, and 20, state and says that they work together to achieve this because they could not do it on their own. We did it, they said. So our theme is A, working together. People can achieve something that they cannot achieve on their own. So at this time, you should have, for number 1, C, number 2, C, 3, B, 4A, and 5A. Then I'm going to click on this button because I want you to see that you should have the following notes. Next to paragraph 2, highlighted in orange, don't forget to do that, you have the note Q1. That's your proof for question 1. Paragraph 5 is highlighted in green, that's the proof for Q2. Make sure to add Q2 by adding a note. Clicking on the little text bubble icon. Then all the way down, paragraphs 18, 19, and 20 are highlighted in purple, and we added the note Q5. I will be able to see guys who typed in Q1, Q2, Q5, and who highlighted with our 3 different colors for jump, jump, jump. At this time, please make sure to click Submit. Then if it does this, you just log back in. And we find our name, and then everyone should have made a 100. Our password is 1234. You go to Submitted Assignments, see your results. There it is, 100. Thank you for watching. You should have completed this with me, and you were able to prove your answers with text evidence and support your answers. You were able to P on your reading passage. You proved every answer with text evidence. Text evidence clues, proof, sentence from the reading passage, and I am really proud of y'all. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Keep it up.